Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Virtual Thursday 2020-10. I'm James Angerett. With me, I have Mac McElroy and Greg Simmons and our training coordinator, Nicole Beard. Today, we're going to be discussing what we call emergency reporting best practices, which is basically the way things work out really cleanly, getting information, things like that. We're going to talk about some common mistakes that we see in different accounts that we're in. And we're going to talk about the support procedures for getting you guys help. Like I said, it's myself presenting. I've got Greg, and we've had the addition of Mac in the background. First, we'll talk about some of the training opportunities. Our virtual Thursdays we have once a month, 1 hour training on some aspect of the system. We do offer online training, 3-hour blocks, customized to meet your needs. On-site training's kind of dead in the water now until the COVID kind of lightens up a little bit. And the regional training academies for this year have been canceled due to the COVID. For next year, for the regional training academies, 2 that did carry over will be Jacksonville, Florida, April 13th through the 15th. And Charlotte, North Carolina, August 3rd through the 5th. As things get settled, as hopefully everything calms down and we do start booking new events for regional training academies, we will keep you guys posted. On emergency reporting, if you go to the Customer Success Center from the login page, it does discuss different on-site trainings, regional trainings. Reach out to us at training@emergencyreporting.com to discuss any needs that you may have. For today, any questions you have, please post them in the chat. Mac and Greg will be there in the background answering what they can. We're going to try and stay on topic with what we're discussing with today. And please be gentle. This is my very first virtual Thursday that I'm presenting for. Okay, so some of the topics we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the support process. What do you need to go through to get help? How do you effectively do those things? We're going to talk about setting up roles and permissions. It's a very common mistake that we see, what you need to do, much of different roles that you need to have. We're going to talk about record keeping, how that you enter information the proper way so that you can get good results out of the reports that you're looking for. We're going to discuss adding admins to your account and what you should have. We're going to talk about the knowledge base information, and we're going to discuss common errors. So the first thing that I want to jump into is what happens when you need support. You reach out to the support desk, you feel like something's not working right in your system, okay? There are 3 ways for you to submit a support request. Phone number during normal business hours. It gives you the ability to speak to somebody live. Gives you the ability to also leave a voicemail. When you leave a voicemail, please, please, please be as descriptive as possible to what's going on, what's happening. Get us as much detail as you can so that we can get you pointed in the right direction. There is an email option that you can enter in. This gives you the ability to be very specific. Nothing gets lost in translation. Gives you the ability to list the impact that it's having on your account. For example, if you have an outage, if you're not getting calls from CAD, something along those lines, it's a high priority item. You can list that. It allows you to take screenshots or snips of what the problem is or what you're seeing on your end, and you can attach it directly to that ticket. And the detail that you can put in there as far as what's happening, what devices you're using, when it's happening, if there's any commonality, the times or anything like that, you can have that as well. And we do have a chat feature, which also allows you to chat live with one of the support techs during normal business hours. And as you can see, we have our business hours down there on the bottom. Okay. So what is our support team? Our support team consists of 1 team lead. There are 4 support techs. The 4 full-time trainers that we have, we do assist as needed or as available. Once your request gets submitted to them, the techs are going to verify it. They're going to troubleshoot it. And if they need to reach out to another area of the company to get help from one of the product owners or the CAD team or something along those lines, they have the ability to do that. One thing I do want to talk to you guys about, when you reach out, when you do put in a support ticket, one of the newer policies that we have here is the techs are required to get permission to access your account. They can access your account. They can get into the account from the support login. but they will need your permission to do that. They ask that you give them 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, or 1 week. Depending on the problem, the tech should give you some kind of an understanding about how long that they need to be in there. Okay? Any questions on anything so far, guys? Okay. So now let's talk about roles and permissions a little bit. I did post some documents in the handout section. Some of the things that I'm going to reference today, that documents are going to cover. The roles and permissions is one that's in there that you folks can go in and grab for yourselves. When you're setting up roles and permissions, there's basically 3 different access levels. You have a no access level, which means when the user signs in, if you have them set to no access, they're not even going to see that. That module is not even going to exist in their world. Okay. Next is the read-only. In the read-only, you can see what's in the module, but you can't make any changes to that area. And then when you have full access, you can get in, you can make changes, you can add things, whatever you need to do functioning in there. Even when you have full access, it's still a good idea to open it up, look at every item within there, and make sure that every one of them is set to where you need it to be. You can have as many roles and permissions as you'd like to have in your account. You can break it down by rank structure. You can break it down by job details. You can even go as far as if you have a fleet maintenance person, you can put those in there. If you work well with your water department and you want somebody to put flow data from what they do, you can create a login for them and set up a role and permission for them simply to get into the hydrant module if needed. As many different roles and permissions as you'd like to have, you can have. One of the common things that we see when folks are setting up roles and permissions, and the one that's really hard to navigate around, is the auto-generated roles. If you create a role and a permission when you're setting this thing up, one of the things that we always tell folks to do is put a memory jogger in there. Put why you're putting that role and permission in there, what they have access to. If you use a template to build it out, for example, if you use the firefighter template and you're giving somebody additional maintenance responsibilities, for example, if they're your SCBA tech, go ahead and list, this is the firefighter template with additional maintenance responsibilities, so that as you grow this list of roles and permissions you have the ability to know at first glance what you're getting them access to. Okay, there's 2 areas that personnel can be assigned to a role and permission. You can do it directly from, and bear with me here a second. You can do it directly from here. Come over to this kind of people looking icon right here. You can come in, you can take people away with the minus symbol, you can add people with the plus symbol, whoever you need to. And the second option that you can do is when you go into your personnel list and you're adding personnel, when you go to the security tab, you can also set the roles and permissions that they're assigned to from there. Okay. Back to where I was real quick. And I apologize, I don't have 2 screens to share the document, so I'm going to bounce back and forth on y'all a little bit today. Okay, when you're in there and you're setting them up, when you open that document, we always tell folks, when you get in that roles and permissions and you open up, work from right to left. Give them full access to the areas that you want to give them full access, and then draw back the areas that you don't want to give them access to. The biggest thing in any one of the modules when you're in the roles and permissions, pay attention if it has that delete. The delete capability is probably the biggest one that's going to get you in trouble in a lot of different areas. Any questions, guys?
Nothing so far, James.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about record keeping for a second, okay? Big thing about what we do is pulling information so that you guys have many different needs. You have to answer to many different folks. We need you to get the reports that you need, okay? Always remember that the data you're getting out of this system is only as good as the data that you input, okay? Put as good data in there as possible, all right? Be consistent with the data that you're putting in there. When you come into a report, one of the things that you're going to look for here any report that you pull, and I just have one pulled up because it's got a pretty descriptive footer in it. When you're pulling a report, you want to come down to the bottom of the page. This footer that you see right here, this is telling you where you're getting information from. So if you pull this report and you notice a discrepancy, whatever report it may be, if you notice that discrepancy, one of the first things you want to do is come here, look and see where it is supposed to be getting this data from, and then go to that area and make sure that the data has been inputted correctly, okay? When you're pulling reports from the reports module, a couple different ways to do it, okay? The hydrants module, the maintenance module, occupancy, and training. When you are in one of these areas right here, and you see this reports tab sitting right here, when you click on that, you are going to get reports specifically about that module itself, nothing else. When you're in the actual reports module itself, a couple different ways to do things. You can come in, you can start, it's going to give you a list by module of all the different reports that you can see. You can work your way down through here, okay? If you want to come in and pull up different incident reports, come down, just look at general for the incidents, okay? If we pull this report right here, which is what I had earlier, okay? Set your parameters that you want. Now, in some of these reports, you're going to have where you can kind of create your own pickers. So if you go in there and select a certain group of people, you can name it a certain thing and you can add that so that next time you come back, that list that you're picking from will be there and will be available to you, okay? Once you've set your parameters and you create that report, you're going to see this right here, okay? So we're coming into the report. If you don't want to go through the hassle next time when you come in here, if you really like this report, if you really like the data that you see in here, you always have the ability to add to favorites, okay? In the example where you may not have the add to favorites in there, you can always come back out one screen if you back up, and the little heart over here, you can just click on that heart icon and it's going to save for you, okay? So that the next time that you come in here and you're looking at these reports, you come to your favorites and all those reports are going to be there, okay? You also have the ability to come in here, do an Excel download, do a text download, take the information, take what you need from there, add it to your own document, take from another report, add additional to that, and kind of make your own custom report, so to speak, okay? And then the popular tab up here, this popular tab, these are the top 25 reports pulled system-wide, okay? This list varies as reports are pulled, as you know, they move up the list. For example, some of the COVID studies reports, when it first entered, it rocketed up this list that everybody was pulling it. But the takeaway from this section right here is, if this many people out of all of our customers are pulling these reports, odds are there's going to be some good data on there, okay? And then you always have the ability to come in and just do a word search for your report. Okay. One other thing that I did that I wanted to show you, and I apologize, I just forgot that. Everybody pay attention to this number right here. 779 is a master list of reports. This is a dynamic report. As reports are taken away or added to the system, this will change. In my former life, when I was working, I kept a copy of this on my desk. But because this list is dynamic, every 2-3 months, I would go in, print out a new copy so that if any reports added, I would have it. When you look at this master list of reports, 17 pages. This is every report that we're capable of pulling in this system. When customers reach out, if I answer a support ticket and somebody says to me, hey, where can I get this information from? This is exactly where I go to, folks. I come straight to this list. I start looking. I start pulling these things up. Does this work? Does this get them what they need? A great way to function with this, if you have it pulled up on your screen, just come in, duplicate your tab, come back to the master reports list, come over here. For example, if I just wanted to come down, let's get into incidents. If I wanted to pull up 1143, come over here, type in 1143, take a look at the report, run it, set my parameters, boom. This may work, this may not work, may not be the report I want. By having these duplicate tabs set up, I can come back over here. I don't lose my place where I was at, and I can continue right here. When you see the path on here, this is if you were to come into the reports module, you would go to incidents, response times, apparatus, turnout time. This is a powerful document. If you want to know the information you can pull, this is a great tool to get you where you need to be. Okay. Oop, my apologies. Now, for those of you that have BI Basic in your analytics module, BI Basic is one of our newest tools. BI Basic is a powerful tool. Business intelligence from Microsoft is what this is. This is growing by leaps and bounds. I believe it was March of this year we came out with this, okay? Analytics will let you come in. There's different areas that you can pull reports from in analytics, okay? My Test account has a full analytics package in it, okay? So you're gonna see some things you may not see in your account, but if you have this BI Basic tab right here, you can come in here and you can pull from incident volumes. If you want your 90th percentile reports, you can pull them from the incident volumes. EMS statistics, occupancy, you can take a look at your inspections, take a look at, filter it down by inspector, see how many inspections are done. Training is a great area for BI Basic. This is a very strong area in here. If you go through ISO audits and you want to pull information, come into your training section. I can come in. The slicers are basically your filters. Okay, this is how you're going to filter down information. When you click on that, if you want to run this report, we'll do it just from August 1st. And then we'll just run it through the end of the year. Okay. Then you can pull by class category, class location. You can come down to your training codes, your training code categories, okay? Every one of these can be filtered. If you want to come in and pull this information, if you want to select multiple ones, or if you just want to leave it at all, that's entirely up to you. As you go through here, this information is going to change on what you're getting, okay? Let's see. So we can just select, I'll just use myself for an example. Okay. All right, any information, if I've done this class right here, we're just going to select all of them. I've had multiple folks that I've worked with, and especially Fire Chief and High that I work with was looking at his 90th percentile reports. He had no idea that this even existed to him. He come in, he started looking around, we pulled a couple of reports for him. He said from that point forward, this is solely what he's going to be using, okay? So now that you've set your filters, you can take a look at the details, any information that's going to come up, just for me, for example. And then you can come down here, you can go by classes, or you can pull a certifications report. When you come into this, now I will admit, one of the things here, in these different areas, these three little dots is going to be how you're going to get your data out, okay? Sometimes they are a little hard to grab, all right? But that is one of the things that the product owner for this is going to work on, making those sticky, okay? But when you come in here and you select this, the nice part about pulling data from BI, when you export your data and it comes in, they have the ability to sort this built into these reports that you're pulling, okay? Anything that you want to do here, and I'm going to show you a little bit better when we show you maintenance real quick. You can come in and you can sort this data however you need to, okay? Doesn't want to give it to me. Smallest to largest, largest to smallest. You come in, you select what you want. When you're looking at equipment, and we'll take a look in there real quick. Okay, when you want to pull this and you want to look at just your equipment, for example, if you broke it down by category, come in here and let's just pull our PPE, for example. All right. If we want to just look at the expiration dates, pulling this is really good from BI Basic. What did I select wrong? There we go. When you export this is a little bit larger of a list. There's going to be a little bit more information on here. For example, if you just wanted to come through and you wanted to set on what the expiration date is for your gear that you have set up, you can come in here and look at the replacement dates and set them in accordance with what you want. Okay? That's the nice part about how that's built out, that it gives you the ability to sort those already. Any questions so far, guys? Okay.
There were a few, James, Mac and I were able to take care of them, so we should be all set.
Okay, outstanding.
And you took care of them with your discussion on basic BI, so.
Cool, cool. One of the other things that I want to point out to you guys, this is still in beta. This is having capabilities added all the time. Week by week, you might see this thing change right now. As with other areas in the system that a lot of you guys are already familiar with, anytime anything's in beta, you have the ability to send feedback to the product owner. That's the person that's in charge of this module, okay? I can tell you firsthand that the product owner for analytics, and it is nothing, you can't stand any of the others, but Kevin is an exceptional person to work with. He wants this module to be the best it can be, and he thrives on getting this feedback. I tell customers all the time, please use that send feedback. When you use that, that goes directly to the product owner themselves. Okay, no support, nobody in between, nothing else. This is the person that's in charge of this module. They are getting that feedback. And in this case, working with Kevin, he is an awesome guy to work with, and he wants this product to be the best it can be. This can be as powerful as we can make it, and the input we get from you guys, the customer, will help us do that. Okay. Now let's talk about the knowledge base for a second. When we give new customer onboarding, when we give that 2-hour block of instruction to folks, okay, one of the first things that we show them from the support side is how to get into the knowledge base section. The knowledge base section is a powerful tool. If you guys are hung up, if you can't find something, if you're like, man, I forgot what the trainer told me, I forgot what I learned in that class, when you come in and you go to the knowledge base section, there is literally a type of learning plan for every module within this system. You can access it from your main dashboard, which I'll show you in just a second here. Okay, and these are the things that I was talking about. There are 2 types. Some of the things, and I'm going to show you PDF documents that will walk you through step by step in the area that you want to work in, and it'll show you what you need to do. I listened to Mac earlier in a training session today talking about that they were completely firefighter proof. Not a huge amount of words, lots of pictures, going to run you through there, going to show you what you need, quick and clean. It's going to help you guys out. Okay, anybody in your department can access this knowledge base. If they're doing any kind of heavy lifting in your system, I always tell folks, as many people as going to be operating for your organization in here, get them signed up, get them into the knowledge base. One of the handouts you're going to see in there today is how to get your folks logged into that area. Okay. And usually, if you hit help in whatever module you're in, it's going to bring up some version of this knowledge base for you guys to see. Okay. From your home screen, when you sign in, click on the support. If you do not have a login set up, if you're new to this, come over here, put in your email address, and from there they'll send you a link, you verify it, you come in, you sign in. Just switch here. This is the knowledge base section. This is what you're going to see. For those of you that are Rover customers, the Rover knowledge base is in here as well. But when you come in to navigate this, this is how it's going to be broken down. It's going to be broken down alphabetically. It's going to be broken down by module. When you come in and you take a look, this is exactly what I was talking about with the PDF documents right here. This is going to roll you through. This one is one of the ones you're going to see in your handouts today that helps you with roles and permissions, okay? But it's going to walk you through step by step. The next kind that you're going to see when you come in here, throughout, rig checks, they have some of the YouTube videos, just like we see on the Virtual Thursday videos. When you guys want to come in and see the Virtual Thursday videos, okay? They're in here. That's the other type of learning plan you're going to find. Now, you can find these on YouTube. On the YouTube, when you go to the emergency reporting section of it, you're going to see different videos. You're also going to see marketing videos, product videos, things like that. When you come in here and you come to this knowledge base section, this is solely going to be all about training. So if you ever get hung up, you can come in here. You don't even have to scroll through it module by module, okay? You can come to the top. If you wanted to know something about hydrants, you do a word search, it's going to come up. Everything the knowledge base has, it's going to come up for hydrants, okay? Now, let's talk about some of the common errors we see. One of the things as regional trainers, myself and Greg have, we're the two newest trainers here. Once we started traveling a little bit, we started going around doing the on-sites, and of course we got grounded, you know, due to the current state of affairs. We started helping out with the support team more and more, which allowed us to help learn the system, learn common mistakes, learn how to troubleshoot things. These common errors are some of the things that we see throughout the system as we're going through and we're training with folks. Probably the number one thing we see. Folks go in, they change something, they move something around, they end up locking themselves out of their account, okay? If they're the only admin in that account, that creates a real problem, right? Anytime that your account is locked out and the admin can't get into it, there's a process that we have to go through. You have to reach out through support, contact us. We will send you what we call our LAR document. You have to take it, follow the instructions on it, have two people sign it, have it authorized, send it back to us. We verify it, we send it back to you. That becomes a lengthy process, okay? Much more lengthy than anybody wants when you're just trying to access your account. If you were to have more admins on your account, you would never have to go through that process. If you lock yourself out or you lock that account, one of the other admins can get in there. They can unlock the account for you, get you back up and operating. Okay? We suggest that you have at least 2 or 3 admins for your account. On the bigger accounts, the larger accounts, one of the rules of thumbs is for every 10 to 15 people you have, there should be an admin in your account. Okay? Next thing that we run into, improper roles and permissions. Okay? The incident module is probably the one that I've seen the most about this. Okay? And what I want to show you guys on that, if you have folks that are going to be doing incident reports for you, whatever role permission they're set to, please make sure that when you go in there and you go specifically to the incident module, these 3 items right here have to be set to full access, okay? We see it time and time again. Somebody will put in a support ticket. Hey, I'm filling out my incident report. As I'm typing my narrative, I move to the next section. When I go back to my narrative, it disappears. This is what you need to go see. Go see the role that they're assigned to and make sure that they have access in these 3 areas, okay? Rig check. Common thing that we get with rig check, okay? Number one, every compartment must have a question associated to it. Sometimes we see it, somebody's building out an extensive checklist. They might get a call, they might get a phone call, they might get pulled away from their desk, whatever happens, okay? But if they go back and they start building this again and they forget to add that question there, it's going to create a problem for them down the line. What's going to happen, and I have it set up in my test account so I can demonstrate it for you, it's not going to allow that checklist to go through, okay? Try to stay away from cutting and pasting. Okay, when you get duplicate information, I've seen it a few times where it will do the same thing where it'll hang up that checklist. All right, and when you're naming compartments, try not to use the same name for the compartment. That will also hang it up. Okay, and just to demonstrate this for you guys, we're going to go into the maintenance module. We're going to go into rig checks. Now, I have one set up. This is how this is going to function for you. Your checklist is made, your checklist is published. You're going to come in, you're going to begin this check right here. You notice this is the screen you're going to come to. Well, if a checklist is not finished, you only have two options. You either finish the checklist that they were on, or you start a new check, okay? In this case, we'll come in, we'll start a new check with this. Okay, we're good here. Good here, good here, okay? You can see 3 compartments set up in here, okay? Now, one thing I want to tell you all, okay, this is advice that I give to everybody that I teach. Bulk pass. If you have an extensive checklist, and what I mean by that, I've seen checklists as high as 200-300 questions on a checklist, okay? Bulk pass is a great feature. When we're troubleshooting these things, bulk pass is a great feature. The common thing that I hear out of a lot of folks, no. I do not want to give them the permissions to just bulk pass something, right? I do not want them pencil whipping this checklist. The reply I always have for those folks is the reality of this is whether they do it by bulk pass or whether they do it one by one, they can pencil whip it either way, okay? And I jokingly always say to everybody, if your drivers are pencil whipping your checklist, there's other issues that you got, right? And I say that facetiously, but the reality is folks can come in and pencil whip this one at a time, or they can do it by bulk. Bulk operations save you a lot of energy, especially in the larger checklist, okay? So once you've selected, one thing I see all the time, if you skip one answer, when you go to hit submit for completing this checklist, it's going to come up and remind you that you have one you need to select. And it's going to bring this up right here for you. All right, so we're going to go back, we're going to hit pass. Now, when I hit submit, where that red box come up, I want to see a green box coming up saying that that checklist went through. In this case, I'm going to hit submit. I don't get that, okay? You can come in, you can look at this vehicle, the checklist, it's not going to be there for you. Okay, the checklists aren't going through. They aren't coming through on the home page. They aren't storing in the vehicle history. This checklist didn't go through. I showed you we had 3 compartments on there. To troubleshoot a checklist, come in, edit the checklist, take a look at it, and I put one in here, kind of easy to see in this because of what I did here. But here's your first compartment we were looking at. Question, 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 we're good to go. Second compartment, question, question, okay. Third compartment, questions, okay. Now, in this fourth compartment that I built into the checklist, you can see on the checklist there was only 3 visible to you, but there is 4 here. Without having a question set to this, that's what caused the error in our checklist, okay. This can take some time. You have to scroll through this slowly, especially if you have 8, 10, 12 compartments in there, each with their own questions. Take your time, run through here. One of the first things you want to do, count the number of compartments you have. Is it the same on the checklist? Next thing, come in. As soon as you get to each compartment, make sure that you see a question associated with this. If you run into this example right here, where it's either a duplicate compartment or there's a question or a compartment with no question, just simply come in, delete that one, or add a question to it. Then you're done. Come back up, republish the checklist. And then when you come in to do this checklist, the next time, we're going to start it over again. We're going to roll through, hit submit, and that's what we want to see. If you do not see that green box, that's telling you the checklist did not go through the steps that I just showed you guys. Okay?
Hey,
yes, sir.
hey, I've got, I believe Marcus was asking about a report as far as your roles and permission. There is one that come out, report 1814, that discusses some roles and permissions. If he wants to look at that one, it's roles and permissions by role detail.
1814 back?
Yeah, new report, yes. I tried to put that in there, I'm not sure. Okay, since we don't want everyone to print reports in the department, we have protocol in place that all reports, yeah, you can go to your roles and permissions and actually go into that, and you can set up, I know, an admin, and you can go in and look at that also as far what reports you want people to be able to run and report out on. But that's the one for the 1814 report. And I think that's per individual, I believe.
Yeah, you can break that down.
Yeah.
You can break that down by personnel, by shift, by rank, or by the security roles and permissions themselves.
Yes, okay. That one is live now, I believe. Yes, it is. Or we will be able to
I just pulled it right out of my test account. Yep.
Yep, it's live now.
Okay.
Just so as the other day, though. I'm sorry. I was just,
please.
It was just went live, I think, Thursday evening or Friday morning one. Just been a few days in there. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, good deal. So another thing that we see all the time, for those of you that were building out shifts, when you come in here and you build out your shifts, please don't build that shift out for anything more than a 1-year time frame. Anything larger than that, it's going to create headaches for you. It's not going to go through. You're going to have all kinds of issue with it. So when you're building out shifts, make sure that you only do it for a 1-year time frame. Okay. Apparatus vehicle numbers. Okay. Again, going back to looking at the apparatus in my account, I set a couple up here for you. Probably the number one thing that I see. Okay, folks will come in, and for example, you're looking at these two right here, right? Always remember that your maintenance records attach to this vehicle number. Do not duplicate the ID in the vehicle number, okay? What's going to happen if you do what I have listed right here is when you go out and you buy a new Tahoe and you assign it as AC46, and you had that vehicle number as AC46, all of the old maintenance records that were attached to AC46 prior to that are going to attach to that new vehicle. In your heavy apparatus, if you have 2, 3, 4 engines, right? If you just have them engine 1, 2, 3, and 4, if you rotate that fleet down one and put the new apparatus in there, all the old maintenance records are going to stay in that spot. You want to have a vehicle number that is unique and specific to that vehicle. I know in my department when I was working, we used, on the heavy apparatus, we used the manufacturer's work order number or job number for building the vehicle, what you see on that silver plate, okay? A lot of different ways you can do this, but no matter which way you choose, the bottom line is it has to be a unique number, and it has to be specific to that vehicle and will never leave that vehicle, okay? Okay, now, under hydrants. Two types of delete in the system. You guys know this, right? There's a hard delete. It's going to come up. It's going to tell you it's deleting, right? Sometimes when you hit archive, more often than not, archive's telling you that you can pull that information back, okay? One of the things that I'm going to tell you about hydrants is it lists them as archiving them, but in reality, you're going to be deleting them, okay? You're not going to be able to pull that back from an archive record, okay? And if you have to re-import them, make sure you use the same ID numbers on it, okay? For the training module, training is obviously huge, right? In the ISO world, it's a big chunk of what you do. It's a big chunk of what you're going to be graded on. One of the things that I always tell folks, whether it's the training officer that's responsible for this, shift officers, things like that, okay? Try to use templates as much as possible, okay? I'm going to go back a few slides to what we talked about. The data you get out is only as good as the data that you pull in. By having complete data, meeting all your requirements, meeting all your needs, templates are going to give you that. You're building them out, right? You're the one that's controlling the information that's involved in them, okay? When you build those out on your screen, or on your module, I mean, what's going to happen if I come over here and look at just the templates I have in my account, okay? When you build these templates out, if you're the person that knows what you need, if you know what has to be done for your next ISO audit, right? You want to capture these class categories. You want to capture these training codes. You want to capture any resources that you have. If you're teaching against a standard, you want to add that standard to it. By building the template out, you control this information. You know what's getting put in here, okay? So that when the end user, when the firefighter, the station officer, or one of the chiefs come in and they want to give a class, when they click on this to add a class, here's your templates. All they have to do is come in here. If you want to give a class on ladders, I can come in here, start it. We're going to do today. Okay. And when we go to add this report, all of this information pulls in from that template. Okay. So many times I've worked with folks either on support or in doing training. They go to pull their training reports. They may not pull them for a length of time. When they go to pull them, they're like, hey, all my hours aren't coming over. I'm not getting, if they try to pull it by training codes, well, this information might not have been put in the right way. You might have 4 different variations of this. The shift officer on A shift might do it one way. The shift officer on B shift might do it another way. Consistency rules the day when you're using templates, okay? You're controlling what you want to do with this. You can even schedule these classes using a template, okay? But try to use templates as much as possible when you're operating in a training module. Okay? Now, I'm going to switch you over to Greg, and I'm going to let Greg present a little bit here. Okay, let me just bear with me while I share the screen.
Hang on a second, James. There isn't one question. Let me see. It's about the hydrants module. Actually, Sean Sims had one about if we update the vehicle number, will it update existing records created against that number? He understands about making it unique, but he's entered a value that he wants to change to a different guaranteed unique value, but he wants to maintain the historical data.
Yeah, as long as, it's my understanding that as long as you're not moving or replacing that vehicle, if you update that record, it's still going to attach to that vehicle. Right. The error comes in when you add a new vehicle and it pulls the old records back to that. Right. Does that answer his question?
I think so, yeah. And I answered it too. I've done it. I've actually made that change in my test account, and it did seem to carry the maintenance history even after I changed the vehicle number.
Yeah, the big error there is
you don't want to reuse a vehicle number that's already been used, and you don't want to duplicate vehicle numbers. So
absolutely spot on.
And then question from Marcus regarding the hydrants: is the one hydrants template to add all the information for our hydrants? Last time you heard it was broken. Maybe Matt can speak to that because I know there was some issues we were having there.
Mac, do you have anything on that?
What was it? Is one of the hydrant templates to add all the information? One more time.
There was the, didn't we have an issue with the hydrants template, import template at one time, Mac, that it wasn't importing data properly? But I
Yeah,
thought
what it
that's been
is,
solved.
yeah, they're looking at if you, in some accounts, what it was doing is if you're trying to update the data, like your hydrant numbers, they must match exactly. And some of them, if you had archived or anything old hydrant in there, it was not letting you use your hydrants again or the numbers again. And but we can take that offline. If Marcus, if you want to give one of us a call, we can try to look at that for you. That may be corrected now.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully
Greg,
that answered your question.
you ready to take over, Greg?
Shoot, you betcha.
Hey. Okay.
Let's see, show my screen. Let's put this into the right screen, I think. Boom, boom. All right, James, can you verify you're seeing my screen? Required
I'm
fields.
just seeing your desktop. I'm seeing your desktop, buddy.
All right, let me see if I can pick the right screen then.
There you go.
Get some of this stuff out of my way then. There we go.
Okay. The first area Greg's going to discuss is the city-county code and how to recognize outdated inputs for those city-county codes.
So what's interesting, real brief history on me. I'm from Michigan. I'm the only trainer we've got this far north, other than our new customer onboarding specialist out in Bellingham. And being from Michigan, I've had the unique opportunity to do some experimenting with my test account. And as a trainer, I first was told by Mark Wolf that we don't recommend using the city county codes. And I saw some examples of why that happened, some minor problems where as you get into an incident, and we'll pop into an incident real quick and get into that basic info 3 tab, where by using the city code and county code, it would tend to overwrite some data. And usually that just appeared with, say, like a zip code or possibly changing like a street type from a road or a street to something else. Being in Michigan, I had the unique opportunity. One of my good friends, who's also an ER customer, covers a area that covers Saginaw Valley State University. Now, real quick history, Saginaw Valley State University was started in the 1960s as Saginaw Valley College. And that's where our story about using the city code and county code really starts. So if I pull up this list for the city code, because I'm in Michigan, I get to see this list. And you'll see here on this list that, where'd it go? Saginaw Valley College is listed here. The interesting thing is Saginaw Valley College, like you probably already heard me say, is now Saginaw Valley State University. And it's been Saginaw Valley State University since 1987. So I don't know how often it is that this list gets updated from the federal government, but that's where the information's coming from. And that's basically one of the reasons we mentioned, not using it. So I'll show you real quick that if I do click on that, what it did here was put Saginaw Valley College in here as the city, state of Michigan, and a zip code of 48605. Well, post office hasn't used that zip code in years either. So none of that information, the city and zip code there, none of it applies anymore. If you don't catch that information, then you've effectively gone, once you've put the correct address in this number and street and highway and street type, and you just click on your city code and county code, then it can overwrite some of this other data, making it incorrect. Okay, so like actually what this should be in the case of this municipality, it's now considered actually University Center, which you'll notice come down here on the bottom of this list. There is no University Center listed here. So the next closest thing is actually up here, Kochville Township is correct. But notice once I switched it to Kochville Township, it still didn't switch the zip code back for me, which should actually be 48706. So we've as trainers, like I said, we've kind of advised not to use the city code and county code, and just because it pulls bad data sometimes. And I'm not sure anybody else has been fortunate enough to find a true example as to why that data is bad. But that's a quick example of why we recommend not to use that data. So the next thing I'm going to go over, I think on the list, I don't have it right in front of me. Let me pull it up. So in structure fire 2, if you go into a structure fire situation and you start back here at basic info 1 and put in your building fire and you go through and hit next and continue to hit next and fill out the boxes, and you get over here to the fire tab, you go through this, and let's say I check that it was confined to the object of origin on the fire 2 page here, continue to click next, and now all of a sudden you notice up here my fire 2 tab went red. I'm going to keep going just to show the rest of this, how this works out. Get all the way here to the structure fire 2 tab, and to make sure that I say the same thing here, my fire spread was confined to object of origin. I click next, and I keep going, and let's say I just keep going all the way through my report, and I'm going to get to the authorized page, and it's going to show me some problems. Okay, well, I'm not going to worry right now about the problems that I'm having with points required and stuff like that, but I will look at this first item here where it says if the fire was contained to an object of origin, but the material contributing most flame spread must not be selected. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take me back here to the structure fire 2 page. Where the problem comes in is when I selected this confined to object of origin and saved it, this information here was not visible to me at first. Now, since I just put that information in there and selected next, it saved it, put me onto the next page, and then it populated this information. And what you need to do to correct that error that we get back on the authorized tab is actually uncheck that box, save it, and you'll see now that I got green up here in structure fire 2, and I also got green back here on the fire 2 tab. Now if I go to my authorized page, you'll see that that particular notification problem is gone. Okay, and we find that a lot where people will go through their incident reporting, get all the way to the authorized page and get that error, and it's all caused due to this simple little, and now you'll see when we go back there, now that check box is gone. That whole area down at the bottom of the page is gone. Okay, but that's what causes it, is having that check mark in that box. Uncheck it, hit save, and it's good to go. And I think finally, what's my last topic here? Pull up my sheet. Master street list. Any questions before I go on?
I don't see anything, Greg. Couple things just to mention. John Novak had posted that when they take a vehicle out of service, they change that to, if they're using engine 1, they use engine 1 OOS, right? And they change that vehicle number to OOS, which would in turn separate it before they add the new vehicle. And someone else mentioned that what you were talking about earlier with the city and county codes, that's the old FIPS code system. He said it's primarily used by the census data, so he would make a bet that it doesn't get updated more than 10 years at a time. Okay.
That would make sense, although in my experience, it has been longer than that.
Mark asked if you could go back to Basic Info 3.
Okay.
Now, Mark, what specifically were you looking for in Basic Info 3? The question, use occupancy address. Are you asking what happens when you use occupancy address? Okay, so any occupancies that you have loaded in your system, when you're in Basic Info 3 and you add use occupancy address, every bit of information that you have stored about that occupancy if you select it and you use that item for one of your businesses, it's going to pull all that data in for Basic Info 3 and insert it for you. Does that answer, Mark? Okay.
And
Okay.
I see David
Go
put
ahead,
a question.
Go
I
ahead.
see David put a question in about city and county code. When he goes into the settings for required fields, it is unchecked. How do I rectify this?
Yeah, I was chatting with him about that. From what I was gathering, we are required to enter city and county code in their account. So if you notice in here, like when you're looking right here, you've got city county code are not red. Okay, if they're red, it's going to be a required field. You have to, like for Alabama, for instance, where I am, we have to have that put in for our NMSIS 3 for EMS, and that's what I was asking here. So if those two are checked, that's what's turning it on, and that's where I think what we were talking to David about to see if they are on or off there. And that's what he was questioning there, to turn them on or off. And it is in the admin. He said, however, not required info. So if they don't need to turn it or don't need to cut it off, or excuse me, if they don't want it on, they can go to the admins and go uncheck those two city and county code. Now, one thing it does do, like in ours, we haven't seen a lot of problems there, but some of your EMS, when they're running NMSIS 3, the NMSIS is requiring it, so they turn it on for that reason. But if you go in and you turn that off, you won't have that required, so you can complete it without completing those two. But also, if you select city code, it will go ahead and put your county code in there for you. So you're just really filling out one, the ones that I've looked at anyway.
All right, I got about 2:57, so I got about a minute and a half to at least allow a minute and a half for you guys to ask any more questions. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was the master street list. So the master street list is put in through your administration module. Click on master street list. This can be a bulk upload. Simply click on that, download the template, fill out the template, save the file. When you come back here, then you choose the file and it'll upload those master streets. The neat thing about that is it virtually eliminates, and I say virtually because we all know firefighters always seem to find a way around something, but it virtually eliminates the ability to misspell streets. And the important thing of that is when you go to query information regarding your runs, if you want to query runs to a specific address, let's say, if you got a frequent flyer or something like that, as soon as somebody spells the name of that street wrong for any reason, it's not going to include that street, that particular misspelled street, into the data that you're querying. So that's the importance of having a master street list in here. For those of you that do have a master street list in here, and especially if you've got a CAD link between your dispatch center and your ER account, what you may see when you first get into the incident on that Basic Info 3 tab is something very similar to this, where you'll have the street number, street name, and I see a lot of dispatch centers type in all caps. They don't like to shift and do all the proper nomenclatures and stuff. So you'll see a lot of caps. And they also won't see often the street type. Sometimes the city and zip code won't be there either. So by having that master street list in here, if you're already getting some data from your dispatch center via that CAD link, simply have your personnel click into the street or highway name, hit a backspace once. The options that are available in your master street list will pop up here. And then you can go ahead and say, okay, select which one it is. And you'll notice it'll make sure that it properly spells that name. It'll put the street type in there for you, add the city and the zip code, as long as you selected the right one off of the list. So that's one of the neat things about having the master street list in there. Now, if you get to the point where you get a street that's new to your system or new to your area, a new subdivision goes in or something like that, it's simple as somebody with administrative privileges going in and adding that street name into that master street list, and then it'll be available also. From that master street list, Get back into my admin. From that master street list, come on. From the same page, you can also have settings on how you want that master street list to be addressed in your system. So as soon as you get at least 25 streets listed in your master street list, you can select this exact match only. Right now, since I've got nothing selected, actually this is what's happening is I'm getting the address assist mode. Okay. But once you get those 25 streets in, you can select that it's an exact match. If you want to have to match on case, that means if you've got everything spelled in there with the first capital letter and everything else is lowercase, once your personnel get into that box on the basic info 3 tab, they're going to have to make sure that they're typing it exactly how you have it in your master street list in order for them to be able to select it. And that's it on the master street list. And I think that's it on my portion of the presentation.
Greg, can you switch the presenter back over to me real quick?
Absolutely. I think.
Marcus, I was in the middle of answering your question. How I want to answer that. So, no, the incident module is not in beta. Okay. However, the incident module is up next for rewrite. Okay.
So yours, James.
Okay. I can't get this removed. The incident module is in rewrite. Okay. When that happens, from what our understanding is, the permissions within the incident module are going to be a little bit more granular than what they are right now. So you will have some more options. I can't definitively tell you that that will be that way, but when the incident module does get released and you get that beta version of it, please send the feedback just like I had discussed in the BI basic module that I was in. Okay. I don't necessarily see any more questions. Do you guys?
There's one. So Marcus is hitting back on the, let me see. Looked into the incident module under permissions and the print.
That's what I just addressed, Greg. Yep.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I was trying to read the questions instead of pay attention. My bad. Isn't that part of the reports permissions though?
As far as
that's what I was fixing to. Not sure.
Can you pull up your account quick, James, and go into your roles and permissions?
Yes, sir. If it'll let me out of there.
And just scroll down to the reports module. No.
Is he talking about incident reports or reports?
Well, I think he's talking about incident. I think he's talking about incident reports, but it's funny because I think it's addressed in the under the reports module settings.
Okay.
So if you, yep, and then it's right there, right in the middle.
Yeah, and that may just be for pulling reports related to incidents, correct?
Well, I think that will also, so you can look down through there, guys, and that may be what he was trying to restrict different people from, printing certain reports, and that will do that. They also will go to, like you were talking about, James, is going into the different modules and doing some things, but right now it's under the reports module, and then if you go up to admin, like you can turn off some admin reports. Certain accesses that they're giving here will also restrict you with the like if you don't have access to personnel or you do or whichever there, then that reports where it says admin, it will give you only right to print reports based on your admin privileges in here also. Does that make sense? Like if I have access for admin for Apparatus, then in the reports module, when I've got those different ones and I have admin available to do admin reports. They're trying to adjust that based on what you're picking in here too. So they're combined. Does that make sense? Guys, y'all follow what I'm talking about there?
Yes.
So that's what they're working on. So Marcus, hopefully that corrected it. If it doesn't, shoot us an email, one of us, and we can try to help you out, make sure we're understanding your question on our end too. Okay.
And hello to the gentleman that just notified us from Germany. Welcome.
Yeah.
So I don't see a whole lot of other questions. I did want to post this up here. You can reach anybody on the training team at trainingemergencyreporting.com. Mac's email's on there, Greg's on there, mine's on there. Please feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help you guys out. I really want to thank you guys. Like I said in the beginning, this was my first virtual Thursday. I got through it pretty unscathed. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to teach you. And most importantly, thank you for being a customer. There are choices out there. You have chosen emergency reporting, and we are all very grateful for that. So thank you for being a customer. Any other questions, guys?
I don't see anything else, James.
Okay. So with that being said, we're going to complete the virtual Thursday for today. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your departments. And hopefully we'll see you back again next month.